Alright, welcome back to another video. Today we've got this Mac SE. I picked this up at the Bit History warehouse surplus sale. It claims to boot, but it claims to also have no display. I have turned this on. I have confirmed that that is in fact the case. We'll give it a try here. So it's got quite a loud hard drive. You can hear it spinning up. It makes listening for the CRT high voltage a little difficult because it's so loud, so I can't tell if the CRT is running with no signal or just not running. But I do hear the hard drive activity, and definitely sounds like it's booting off that. So let's get this guy apart and see if we can't figure out what's wrong. Alright, so I've got it shut down, unplugged. Let's take it apart. I've got my handy Mac opener here. We'll use that, and well, I see the screws in the back here are out. Looks like somebody tried to get into this, but didn't put the screws back when they were done. No worries. Saves me the trouble of having to do it. So I'll pop the case off. Pop the RF shield out. Going around so you can take a look. So yeah, it's got standard SE logic board. I don't think these are as famous or infamous for failing as with the earlier 9-inch compact Macs, like the Classic and the Plus and earlier. But we'll take a look at this and see if we can't get it up and running. I'm going to discharge the monitor before I do anything, so I'll do a jump cut to that being complete. All right, so I've got the monitor discharged. And again, that's extremely important because these can contain anywhere between 9 and 12,000 volts. And you don't really want that going through your body because it definitely could be fatal. All right, let's start by disconnecting the neck board so we don't accidentally break the neck, which would be very bad. Not in terms of safety, but in terms of making this computer ever work again. I'll disconnect the SCSI cable, the floppy cable, and then the connection to the analog board. And then once you get that, the board will lift out just a little bit. And sometimes the connections here get stuck. That one does look a little rusty, but not too bad. So you lift it up so that the tabs are in the open spots, and then you pull it towards you. And then be careful because the audio cable for the speaker is still connected. So we'll gently pull that out. All right, and here's the board. Has the battery still in it. We'll be immediately removing that. Otherwise, this board looks good. We can be pretty sure that it works because we do hear the system booting. So. Unlikely to be a fault on this board, but you never know until you start poking around. Otherwise, this board seems to be in pretty decent shape. Maybe just a little bit of corrosion here on some of these pins, but nothing that I would be too worried about. Down here it looks a little worse, but again, I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. All right, so we'll set the board aside and put the battery in my tub of batteries that I pulled out of systems. So I definitely have collected a few of these. Put that in there and put that somewhere safe so when they leak, they don't damage a whole bunch of things. All right, and next we'll want to take out the analog board. So that involves removing a couple of the screws. Now again, these are different than the earlier 9-inch compact Macs. The Plus, 128, 512, they all have single kind of analog boards. This one has the analog board and then the power supply is kind of hanging off of it. So it's a little bit different than the earlier Macs. Nothing we can't work with. And these screws are all the same, so you can just throw them in a tin. Don't have to worry about keeping them tracked individually. I do see what looks like some corrosion around the board here as well, maybe even liquid damage. I would be surprised, but weirder things have happened. Alright, we'll set my tin of screws to the side. We will need to disconnect the grounding cable here from the very back of the Mac. And then we've got the neck board, which is connected to the grounding strap here, the implosion band on the CRT. We need to remove that screw to free up that. And again, make sure your CRT is discharged before you do that. I don't know that I'm going to be swapping out the CRT on this with a different one, so we'll just put that screw back loosely in case I do need to. Alright, and then we've got various connections we need to disconnect, so we'll disconnect power from the hard drive because that's attached to the analog board. We've got the video signal connector here we need to disconnect. There we go. Got it release. So that stays connected to the CRT. Neck board connected to the analog board. And then we've got power to the digital board, and we've got the hard drive control power. So I think that is everything we need to take off. And I did see I missed a screw here. I thought I got this one. Must have been imagining things. I'll have to check the video later to see if I really did miss that, since there's one right next to it. Again, stranger things have happened, so certainly possible. Alright, so now we've got the analog board freed from the chassis. And we can take a look and see if we can see any sort of issues with this guy here. Alright, so I'm just going to give it a quick visual. I'm going to disconnect the power supply. Since more than likely the power supply is working, the system does boot, does spin the hard drive, so probably it's okay. I'm guessing the issue somewhere on this board. So I'm just going to take a quick look. To do that, we're going to need to remove the paper shielding. So there's these plastic clips that hold the paper shielding to the analog board. They can just kind of pop out when you push on them. I'll put those in my cup as well so I don't lose them. Oh, also, when I did just discharge the CRT, I didn't hear any clicks from electricity being discharged, so I think it probably wasn't being powered. I guess we could power it back up with the case open and the hard drive disconnected to see if we can hear anything different, but I did not yet do that. Figured a good inspection of the analog board might reveal some more clues, so let's start with that. I'll get the rest of these plastic clips out. And one more to go here. Alright, take the paper off and set it to the side here. Alright, so now we can see the back of the analog board. So the things I want to check are the connections to the various cables that are coming off, specifically the one going to the neck board. We'll also check those on the system board as well, but I don't think that's going to be the issue there. Alright, so I'm just taking a quick inspection here. I don't immediately see any cold solder joints. Not surprising, because these analog boards don't typically have that problem like the other ones do. Apple must have changed their design a little bit between the Plus and the SE in order to make those just a little more reliable. So check these ones here. They all seem to be good as well. Alright, so I'm not seeing any immediate signs of problems on the back of the board. So next we'll want to check the front to look for anything that might be out of the ordinary. I don't see any capacitors that look like they've leaked. Of course, you can't always tell with the visual inspection, but I think they all look okay to me. It certainly could be the flyback. Those things can fail. And if the flyback isn't running, then obviously you're not going to have voltage to the monitor. It's a little harder to troubleshoot, but it certainly could be the cause of it. And it could, I guess, also be the picture tube. Looking at the picture tube here, do you see some, I guess it's just dirt on it? I don't know what this stuff is, but it looks like might be worth trying to do a picture tube swap just to see if we get any difference here. I don't, again, suspect the picture tube, but you gotta start somewhere when you're troubleshooting. Alright, so before I put things back together, I'm gonna just reflow all the connectors just to be sure that they're all good, even though they look fine. Certainly won't hurt anything, and worth a shot. I'm also going to be disconnecting the system fan, or the power supply fan as well, just so I can hear things a little better. Reinstall the analog board and the power supply. So the power supply just kind of sits here. It can be screwed in to the analog board before you put it back in. I'm probably just going to put one screw in here to kind of hold it in place. Easier said than done. I think that's lined up. Nope, not. Alright, so let's slot that back in. Again, being careful of the neck of the CRT. Certainly don't want to damage that. Unless it turns out that the CRT is what's wrong with the system, in which case then I guess it doesn't matter if you damage it. And it would be helpful. So I got the speaker cable here. Right. I think this screw is actually hindering me, the one I put back in, so I'm going to take it back out. Slide the power supply back into its spot, and then bring the analog board along with it here. And the analog board sits in these tabs here and this slot. And then we just need to slide it down into these tabs to get everything lined up correctly. Go. All right, so I do need to reattach some of these things here. The ground for sure needs to be reattached. Oop, drop that in there. We'll get it back out, no problem. So that is reattached. So now we need to reattach, do the neck board. We can do the drive cable. We definitely do need to reattach the ground. You can't run a CRT without the ground connected, or bad things will happen. That connected. We'll reconnect the anode cap. I guess the anode with the cap attached. That's in there. So I'm leaving the hard drive disconnected. I actually did forget to desolder the fan. That's okay. We can still see if we can hear it. All right, so next we'll slide the digital board back in. We'll plug the audio in. It goes up here. And I can see on this board the audio pins are bent, so somebody has been in here before and didn't realize there was an audio cable and just yanked it out. Didn't damage anything, but it did bend the pins, so just a little bit of detective work, I guess. All right. And now we need to plug the power back into the digital board. All right. So I'm not going to put the paper back on. I'm still looking for that screw that fell in here. I'm guessing it might have been easier if I'd done that before I put the digital board back on, but it's alright, we can just pull it back off. I think we'll have to do. So we'll disconnect power. Pull the board out, up and out, and we got the audio cable, so we got to be careful of that. All right, now let's see if we can find that screw in here somewhere. I think we got it. Plug this guy back in. Plug the power back in. And so I'm not putting the paper back on, so I need to be extremely cautious not to touch anything on the analog board when it's plugged in, or after I plugged it in, because the flyback is there. So we'll go ahead and turn it on. Alright, so now I'm looking to see if I can see the CRT heater glowing. No such luck. It doesn't look like it is glowing. So that indicates that it's definitely not getting power. So I'm really not suspecting it's the CRT at this point. All right, so I think for next steps, I'm going to grab an analog board from a different Mac SE and swap it in, and that'll probably get some working. And then we can do some board level repair of the analog board. All right, we're back, and I've got Lane here with me. So with this Macintosh SE, what I've done is I've taken the analog board out of a different Macintosh SE that works. Same power supply, same CRT, same system board. Let's plug it in and turn it on and see what happens. Got everything hooked up correctly. We've
Can
got,
I say something?
Yeah, Lane wants to say something here. Hang on. Right here, Lane.
So, I made this graph right here. So, this was what it was before. The screen was now black. And hopefully Dad fixed it so the screen is white again, so it is working.
Right. All right. Well, let's turn it on and see what we have.
Get some words on it.
See if it explodes.
What if it does explode?
It didn't explode. And look at that. We got a picture. All right, so we know the problems with the analog board. That means we're going to have to troubleshoot it. Ooh. This analog board is not
The arrow
quite...
is blurry.
Yeah, this analog board is not quite tuned for this CRT. That's right, it's not going to stay in here. We're going to put it back where it belongs. We're going to fix the analog board that came out of this one. All right, well, rejoin us in a bit after we get the other analog board on the bench. All right, so we've got the analog board out and Lane's still here, still helping.
I got a friend with us.
She's got our plushy Macintosh Plus. All right, so let's look at this board and see if there's anything suspicious about it. Lane, what do you think about this board? Anything suspicious looking to you on here? It's fully discharged, by the way, so she's not going to be zapping herself, in case you're worried. See, my fear is that the flyback capacitor is toast, and that would not be good.
This looks kind of rubbery right here.
Yeah, that's just glue. It holds the winding on that.
Weird. This looks...
That's the neck board. This is what... Those are disc capacitors. Yeah. So I don't think we're getting any power to this. So when we discharged it before...
This looks like a battery.
That's an electrolytic capacitor. And that is just glue holding that wire down. That's where the fan gets its power from.
Well, nothing looks suspicious.
See, I think we should be looking for maybe something that looks like it might have burned. And again, I am going to adjust the light here. A little worried that it's the flyback. Alright, well, we can check some resistances on things here.
I'm going to make a telescope, Dad. I'm making a telescope.
You're going to make a telescope while I work on this one? How's that going to help you look? You mean microscope. You're making a microscope. Hey, we have a microscope right over here.
Can I use it?
I don't think we need it for this board. At least not yet.
Can you tape this together?
Yeah, get the tape. Alright, turn it so I can see the seam.
Okay. Here you go.
Mortars are good.
There's one here. There we go. Okay, we're back. We got a telescope that will help us see. Microscope. And let's see if we can take a look. See what's going on wrong. I'll try.
I don't even know what we would be looking at.
I think I know what I got. I think I got something.
What?
Can I see that?
Yeah, here.
Here.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a good continuity from that heatsink back to that same heatsink.
Maybe you're right. I'm just testing.
See, I'm looking at these capacitors. None of them look like they've gone bad, but you never know with these. They certainly could have failed. Probably that's what we'll do, Lane. We'll order some capacitors for this analog board and then recap it and see if that helps.
Can we pause this video?
We will pick up the video next time after we order some caps. Sound good?
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right, I got my SE analog board here. Got my cap kit from Console 5, as per usual. So, now for speed recapping. Let's get that machine reassembled and we'll give it a test. So the good news is we didn't make anything worse. Bad news is it's still not fixed. Just, oh, there we go. So we do now have video, so they did resolve it. Oh, that's excellent. I always forgot about that brightness now. No, it's super dim. We tried this tube in the other one, and I believe it was a while ago, so I'd have to go back and check the video, but I believe the tube was, I think it might have been fuzzy in the top, if I recall correctly, but certainly wasn't as dim as this one. So there might be some adjustments we can make to drive some more voltage through this and get a brighter picture. But we do at least have a picture, so that's a plus. We were not getting that before. And it's not actually a plus, it's an SE. I got a plus over there. Alright, well, let me find the plastic cover for it. Because this has information about cutoffs and luminosities and things. So I can know where those holes are to turn the things. So when you're adjusting these, you want to use a plastic driver because, again, high voltage. I don't think I have any plastic drivers, so what I'm going to have to do is turn it off, discharge the CRT, increase and decrease those to see what I can do, and then I can turn it back on and see how it looks. But there is a maximum cutoff. Yeah, we're all the way bright here. Cool. Well, all right. Let me do that. Let me shut it down. All right, well, I've got it all back together, and I've got the hard drive plugged in, which was booting originally, so I presume it will still be booting. I turned the lights off because it's going to be a little dark. And now that I'm looking at it closer, I can definitely see that there is burn-in here in this area. So the CRT is definitely not in the best of shape, but you know, it's usable still. So I was thinking to myself, you know, maybe the problem was never with the analog board. Maybe the problem was just the brightness adjustment. But then I remembered that, you know, I wasn't the only person that looked at this. And there was, after the recap, some brightness that came. And also, I felt static on the screen. So that didn't happen before. There was definitely no high voltage going to the screen. So I do believe that the recap did bring it back to life. And you can see there's some shadow in here and some weird stuff going on. And we definitely know that the analog board was bad because we tried it in the other SE, or we put all the other SE stuff in this one. I forget which we did. So the recap did fix it. And I was trying to remember all the steps I took. This has been a long repair due to my soldering iron breaking and just all the troubleshooting I did. So just trying to remember what happened here. So anyway, this is the hard drive that came in this machine. And again, I got this from the Bit History surplus sale. So, you know, they tested it as well, and they'd marked that it booted but had no video. So we can confirm now that it does boot and it does have video. CRT is not in the greatest of shape, but you know, I think it's certainly usable. I wouldn't want to use it for everyday work, but you know, to pull it up and just play some glider, something like that, I think would be great. So we can see here we're running system 701. We've got 4 megs of RAM installed, and it looks like there's a bunch of personal documents on here. I'll be deleting those. Hard drive is named Mouseman. Interesting. If anyone watching this happens to know Mouseman, let him know I've got his Mac SE and I fixed it. So I assume that's why it was donated, is because it wasn't working. Got some games on here. Always a fan of finding old games. 40 items, well, that's pretty good. Some of these look very familiar to me. Brickles, Shuffle Puck, Missile Command, of course, Space Invaders. There's some things here that I don't know that I've ever played before. I played Stunt Copter. I don't think I played Hot Air Balloon. Mac Concentration I played, not Window Blaster. I'm guessing that's some sort of game that makes fun of Microsoft Windows. Billiards, Backgammon, Yahtzee, Darts, Blackjack. This is quite a score, so I'll be copying these off before this hard drive dies. It certainly will at some point. But that's pretty cool. Let's just open one of these games up and see what it looks like. Stunt Copter. And I don't know the keys, but maybe it's A and Z. Nope, no idea what the keys are. Should probably look those up. Doesn't say what the keys are. Alright, well, I'm sure with enough playing around we can figure it out. But anyway, I think everything else is working in this machine, so maybe I'll keep an eye out for a spare CRT for an SE. Or maybe not, since I have 2 other SEs already that work just fine. But anyway, happy to bring this one back to life. Probably been a while since anybody's used it, but here we go. So I would imagine at this point I'll be able to edit the video down somewhat, but it probably was a very long video. So if you stuck around to the end, or if you just jumped here because you wanted to see how it ended up, I appreciate your time and appreciate you sticking around to the end. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.